My father's voice roared across the dining room, his face twisted with rage and disappointment. The Thanksgiving turkey sat untouched between us, his words echoing off the walls of our family home in San Diego. I sat there, stunned by the venom in his voice, my fork still halfway to my mouth. The cranberry sauce suddenly tasted bitter, and I felt the crushing weight of his expectations pressing down on me like a physical force. My name is Belle Hampton. I'm 28 years old, and I had just shattered my father's carefully constructed dream for our family legacy. For as long as I could remember, Douglas Hampton had orchestrated every aspect of my life around one singular goal: joining Hampton and Associates, the prestigious law firm that bore our family name. My brother, Chase, had fallen in line perfectly, graduating from Harvard Law and sliding seamlessly into his role as junior partner. But I had always been different. Always questioning. Always drawn to something bigger than billable hours and corporate litigation. The moment I told my father I had officially withdrawn from law school, I watched 28 years of his investment in me crumble before his eyes. He had spent decades building Hampton and Associates into one of San Diego's most respected family law practices. And in his mind, I had just thrown it all away. My mother, Janine, sat frozen beside him, her wine glass trembling slightly in her manicured hands. She had perfected the art of silent agreement over the years, never challenging my father's vision for our family's future. "You're a disgrace to everything this family has built," Douglas continued, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "I've sacrificed everything to give you opportunities, and this is how you repay me?" I set down my fork carefully, feeling something cold and determined settle in my chest. The disappointment wasn't new, but the finality in his voice was. Chase shifted uncomfortably in his chair, his eyes fixed on his plate as if the mashed potatoes held the secrets of the universe. Even now, at 34, he couldn't bring himself to defend me against our father's wrath. "After everything I've done for you," Douglas said, standing so abruptly his chair scraped against the hardwood floor. "Get out of my house. Get out and stay out." My mother's sharp intake of breath was the only sound in the room as I slowly stood, tucking my napkin neatly beside my plate. The ritual of family dinner had become a performance we all participated in. But tonight, the curtain had finally fallen. As I walked toward the door, I could feel their eyes on my back, but no one called out to stop me. The silence spoke louder than any words could have. Growing up in the Hampton household meant living under the constant pressure of achievement and appearances. My father had built his reputation on family values and legacy, ironically, while emotionally distancing himself from his own children. Chase had always been the golden child, the one who asked the right questions and made the right choices. He graduated summa cum laude from Harvard, passed the bar on his first attempt, and seamlessly transitioned into the family business without ever questioning whether it was what he truly wanted. I, on the other hand, had always been the problematic daughter. While Chase studied corporate law, I found myself drawn to environmental science and social entrepreneurship. During my undergrad at UC San Diego, I spent summers volunteering with sustainable development organizations instead of interning at prestigious law firms. My father tolerated these phases, as long as I stayed on track for law school. The tension between us reached a breaking point during my second year at Stanford Law. Sitting in a contracts class, listening to a professor drone on about breach remedies, I realized I was slowly dying inside. Every case study felt like another nail in the coffin of my authentic self. That evening, I called my old roommate, Maya, who was working with a female-led venture capital group in Los Angeles. "I have an idea," I told her, pacing my tiny apartment. "Solar-powered infrastructure kits for developing communities, plug-and-play systems that provide clean energy and internet connectivity to remote areas." Maya listened intently as I outlined my vision. The technology already existed, but nobody had made it accessible and affordable for the communities that needed it most. "You should pitch this to Vidian Capital," she said. "They're looking for exactly this kind of innovation." That conversation changed everything. Within a week, I had quietly withdrawn from Stanford and moved to a cramped co-working space in Venice Beach. My parents thought I was taking a temporary leave of absence. I let them believe it. For 9 months, I lived off savings and ramen noodles while perfecting my pitch. I submitted proposals to 17 investment groups and received 17 rejections. Each one stung, but they taught me resilience. Then, on a rain-soaked Tuesday in March, my phone rang. Belle Hampton, this is Jessica Chin from Vidian Capital. We'd like to schedule a meeting about your Sun Nest Systems proposal. My hands shook. Vidian was one of the most respected impact investment firms on the West Coast. I had submitted my proposal 4 months earlier and assumed it was lost. The meeting took place in their sleek downtown LA office. I wore my only professional suit and carried my grandfather's worn leather portfolio. Jessica introduced me to the other partners, Dr. Amara Okapfer, a Nigerian-born engineer who revolutionized water purification, and Lisa Brennan, a former Goldman Sachs executive now focused on sustainable investing. These were women who had broken barriers, and I hoped they'd understand my vision. I presented with passionate precision, explaining how modular solar systems could empower rural communities across Africa and South America. It wasn't just about electricity, it was about connectivity, education, and economic opportunity. Dr. Okapfer leaned forward. What's your scalability model? I had anticipated this. We partner with manufacturers in Southeast Asia. Our value isn't in reinventing solar tech, it's in making it accessible. The meeting lasted 2 hours. By the end, I saw excitement in their eyes. We'll be in touch soon, Jessica said as she walked me to the elevator. This is exactly the kind of innovation we're looking for. 3 weeks later, the call came. Belle, we'd like to offer Sun Nest Systems $30 million in series of funding. I nearly dropped the phone. There's one condition, Jessica continued. We want you on the California Renewable Council. The council was prestigious, reserved for seasoned experts. At 28, I'd be one of the youngest appointees in its history. I'm honored, I said. 9 months earlier, I'd been a dropout eating ramen. Now, I was the chief strategy officer of a $30 million company. The press coverage was overwhelming, TechCrunch, Forbes 30 under 30. But my family remained oblivious. Thanksgiving was the breaking point. You what? My father hissed when I revealed I'd left Stanford. Some little startup that'll be bankrupt in 6 months? Sun Nest Systems, I said calmly. We just closed $30 million in funding. His face turned red. You're lying. I'm not. That's when he exploded. Get out and stay out. The next morning, I drove to my new Malibu mansion, a $7 million oceanfront estate. The moving truck arrived at noon, carrying the few belongings I owned. As I unpacked, my phone buzzed, missed calls from Chase, texts from my mother. I ignored them all. 3 weeks later, my assistant called with news. Belle, Hampton and Associates applied for a state renewable energy grant. They're requesting $2 million. I almost laughed. My father's firm had never cared about sustainability. I pulled up the application. It was well written, but Hampton and Associates had no experience in environmental law. Worse, there was a conflict of interest. At the bottom of the form, I typed, Sun Nest Systems Executive Relationship. The rejection would be swift and public. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply living well and letting the consequences unfold naturally.